Hello and welcome to Life with Francy podcast, a place where you will find all kinds of conversations like mental health, self-love, self-care, trauma, hobbies, and more. With this podcast, I want to create a community where we support one another in business and personal life. Hope you enjoy this episode. Now, let's get the show started. On today's episode, I gotta hold off my excitement. In 2019, I was in all kinds of meetups. It was amazing, and through there, I met the amazing Jessica Conoley, and she's super sweet. She's a writer. She's a coach. I mean, she's amazing, and I can't wait to start this conversation with her. So we have known each other for a long time, but I still was shy because I was like, she don't want to come on my podcast. And she did. So now she's here and we're going to learn from her. So hello, Jessica. Welcome to the show. What is
Hi,
life for
Francie.
you?
It's so good to see you. And I was so surprised when you said you were like scared to reach out to me and you were like, I don't know if you remember me. And I thought, of course I remember you. Like from the first day I met you, you were unforgettable. You were so excited about journals and like you had all these journals with you, which is totally my jam. But it was more just, you were just infectious. In a positive way, not like a scary, creepy
Yeah,
way.
yeah, no, I know.
So when you said, do you want to be on my show? I was super excited and thank you for having me and thinking of it.
Thank you. Your yes meant a world to me. And then you was like, girl, do a discovery call with me. And I was like, heck yeah, I'll take another hour with you. And it was so amazing. I even started writing my story. So I'm excited. But yeah, tell us about you.
I'm excited too. So, like you said, one of the things I do is I became a certified life coach. And I did that because I was already coaching creative people in how to set up businesses. But a lot of them, including myself, like we would hit these big milestones, something magical would happen, but then we would still just be stressed out and like, oh my gosh, now I need to do this. Now I need to do this. Like, what's the big thing? And I thought, well, we're living our dreams. Like this is what people fight their entire lives for, is to go out and live their dreams. But then we're not happy, and like that's ridiculous. And so that's why I added that life coaching component to my skill set, because I wanted to learn how to be happy while we were living our dreams. And you know how when you need to learn something, the universe offers up opportunities to practice. And so I had a really tough couple of years because my mom got diagnosed with cancer and she was dying. And so through that time, I was going through this experience with my clients where they weren't happy. And I thought, well, if I can figure out how to be happy in the middle of my mom dying, then there's something there. So I went out and I just started looking for opportunities and looking for places I could learn. That's when I decided to follow life coaching. And then ultimately I ended up finding a methodology called positive intelligence. And what I found was it was like the best of science and like spirituality kind of mixed together. And so it was just so easy and bite-sized and tangible that like as I was living a really, really hard year, I could still practice what they were saying. And I could find those really beautiful moments amidst something really hard and still find ways to be happy, even though my heart was breaking for 16 months straight. So that's why I got into life coaching. And I'm so glad you let us do a session before the show because those are really fun for me. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. And yeah, let's talk about it because it was amazing. And like you said, it was like simple steps
Mm-hmm.
but that are gonna help you in the long run, especially for like busy people that are
Yeah.
always on the go, go, go.
Yeah.
Just touching your fingers, rubbing your hands, like it could help a lot. I catch myself now doing it at work.
Yeah. So basically, what positive intelligence talks about is all of us have negative thought patterns in our head, and they're really common, right? So we have these voices in our head that are judging us, saying, like, you're not good enough, or hyperachievers saying you need to get stuff done, or avoiding things that you want to get done. And so there's just some real common thought patterns that are universal. And so what you do through the positive intelligence method is you build up a little muscle in your brain when you notice those voices talking and just keeping you from being in the situation or being the person you want to be. You interrupt it and you just say, "Hey, that's not what I want to be doing right now." And the interrupts are really easy. Like you said, it's like rubbing your fingertips together until you can just feel all the ridges on your fingertips, or wiggling your toes and like finding your toes. But you can do it like in the middle of a fight with somebody, which is really cool because like that's the time when you're like losing all sense of yourself, right? And so you can sit there and you can just be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on one visual thing right now and just look really hard and like notice something new about it. And by digging into our senses, it builds up this muscle in our brain where it gets us out of those stress talkers, the, judgment and all that kind of stuff. And it says, okay, I'm switching now. Like I'm switching gears. It's like shifting the gear shift in the car. And I want to get into the spot where I'm Jessica at her true self, like in her sage self, where she's just able to communicate authentically and like get out of the middle of the fight or whatever. So I like it because it's like real time applicable versus like meditation teachers are often like, we need to sit down and meditate for 25 minutes. And like, if you're at work, when you're like at your day job at the mail, you can't just be like, I'll see y'all in 25 minutes. I'm going to just have a little meditate break. Like that doesn't work, but you can take a minute, like a literal minute, and rub your fingers together or focus on breathing or, tense up all your muscles. There's a million different ways you can do it. So I find it super beneficial personally.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now with the writing as well, so you have incorporated both
Yeah.
now because in your group, which I was so mad I missed it on Wednesday.
We're there every Wednesday. There'll
I
be more,
know.
don't worry.
So yeah, tell us more about your program or what you
Sure.
offer.
So I have a lot of things that I do. One thing I do is I run a company called the Creatives Apprentice. And in my business, what we do is we simplify business so you can find the brain space to create. The group that you're talking about, Francie, specifically, is part of my Patreon. And what I found is that when the pandemic hit, a lot of people weren't used to being at home and they got really stressed out and felt really isolated. And as an introvert who works from home and had been working from home for a number of years, I was like, it's just normal, guys. Like, this is how life is, But everyone around me was like, we need to Zoom. We need to Zoom. And I was like, what if we do work sessions together? Because I still had to do my job, but I did want to see people. And so what I did was I set up 3 times a week where we would do virtual work sessions, and it's 2 hours at a stretch. And what we do is we just chat for 15 minutes at the beginning. For 45 minutes, everybody just works on their own stuff, but we stay on Zoom together for it. Call a break at the hour, another 15-minute chat, and then back to work for 45 minutes. And so a lot of people in the group are writers. We've got fiction writers, we've got nonfiction writers, we've got murder writers, we've got fantasy writers, we've got romance writers, we've got like writers across the board. But not everybody in the group is necessarily a writer. We've got artists. My cousin would come, she's a scientist. You can work on whatever you want to work on. My mom was coming for a little bit and she was tiling the kitchen backsplash. So like, it's really just about saying, I have 2 hours. I want to invest in myself or a certain project. And I know I can get some accountability because other people will be there working, but then also I can build some community and get to know cool people who are invested in making their dreams happen as much as I'm invested in making my dreams happen. So I'm really glad you joined, Francie, and I hope to see you every week. But if you don't, it's fine. And we run those Monday and Friday mornings from 10 to noon Central Time and Wednesday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m. Central Time.
I know, and it was so cool because I wasn't even expecting it. When we were doing the coaching, you had me think about my stories in different stages and put it like, because I love a lot of pens, put it in different colors. So all the colors made me happy. So even writing it, it was like not a trigger because of the colors, I was looking for happy thoughts to
Yes.
want to share. And I got to teenager, I still got to work. And now my mentor, I'm going on a retreat and she wants me. So I told you, I wanted to write my story like more in a
Yes.
professional way and everything. Well, now she wants me to get the trauma out and
Oh,
put in words and for her retreat and stay in front of like 10 to 15 people. And it's the first time that I will actually say my story. Like when I told you about it just like a week ago,
yeah.
I was not expecting to have to put it in practice so fast.
Yeah. How does that make you
That's how
feel?
that's how fast the universe was like, oh, you want to tell your story? I got the perfect event for you.
Oh, wow. Are you, tell me about how you feel about that? Because that is a big step.
Because of her presence,
Mhm.
grace, and understanding, I know she will take care of me because she's been taking care of me for 2 years.
Good.
And the girls, some of the girls, I already like been through a lot with them in the past year. So some of the girls gonna be fine, but I do have some anxiety over saying words that I don't say out loud because I talk about my life in codes
Yeah.
and there won't be any codes. So it will be like literally I am naked in front of everybody, super vulnerable. I mean, I'm not gonna be naked, but I'm just
Emotionally, you will be. I understand.
oh, but yeah, it's like, oh, it gives me anxiety, and I'm excited because I know that it's gonna open doors. Because I don't want to feel like I'm being fake or anything
Yeah.
outside. It's just that I'm doing some work before
Yeah.
I can get there to help others with the same situation that could relate. So I'm excited. I'm excited because now I have a spot that if I want to write and focus on writing, I have
Mhm.
some people to understand me again. It's been two
Yeah.
years. It's been too long.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm also proud of you because that's like a really big step. And I know for me personally, when I'm working through something, writing is one of the ways I process it. And when I do first share those like early versions, which is essentially what you're doing at this retreat, right? You're sharing like the super early version. I know how important it is to share it with people who you do trust. And it, it if you don't mind a little feedback about just sharing your work when you're first time, you can tell them what you're capable of accepting as feedback at that point in time.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times with writers, people, especially if you have writer friends, like they'll start telling you edits right away. Like, oh, well, you could move the beginning here, or you could do this and you could do that. But when you're, especially when you're writing your personal life story and it's something emotional like that, um, I would disclaimer it by saying, I would like a positivity pass. And what that means is you are asking for them to tell you the parts that resonated with them and what you did well. And there's no need for any sort of constructive criticism or negative input at this point, because the fact that you're sharing something so vulnerable is a gigantic 1 billion% stretch. And so asking for the type of support you need is so important when you're like in an editorial partnership. And so at this group, I would just, before you start, just say, hey, I'm figuring out the best way to tell my story, but since this is the first time I did it, this is what type of feedback I'm capable of taking on right now. And what personally what I would ask for is things that resonated with them, that they really remember. And then also what you did well, because those two things you're going to benefit from hearing them, and everything else you will refine and craft and get better with time. But that first share is just like so emotionally, you can do it. I believe in you, girl. But man, this is like, that's a big, like that's a super big.
Yeah.
So I'm proud
Yeah.
of you.
It's huge because last
Yeah.
year I went to the same retreat and I worked on my wedding with my mom.
Uh-huh.
And like that was hard enough, but it
Yeah.
was a group of like three girls, because the pandemic was happening and life happens or whatever. But this group is like bigger. And I love that. I love that the reminder of setting boundaries before. I just once again like it's a safe place. So
Yes.
I'm glad that I have a safe place to share my story, get some empowerment so I can say it because like I don't want to be known for it,
Yeah.
but if somebody can relate through it, yeah, I'm here for them.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. And I'm so glad that you found that right group, because one of the things I teach in my mindset classes, I say beware of dream assassins, right? And so dream assassins are people who may have good intentions for you, but they have all these fears that they place onto you. And so if somebody's like, don't share your story, it's going to, limit you, or it's going to draw up your trauma or whatever. Well, that's your decision to make. That's not their decision to make for you. And so even though they have good intentions, knowing which people are going to support you on what you know is best for you and really trusting yourself is so important. And it sounds like you found that group, which is fantastic. And so like there's those external dream assassins who are people who put all their worries and fears on you. Like when I first got into writing, my family did that a lot, with like, you'll never make money. Oh my gosh, you're starting a business and we're going to be in a recession and like blah, blah. And I was like, I have my own worries and fears. And I have thought, I have so many. I do not need to carry yours around with me. I've got my own. They're heavy. I don't have room for yours. And so learning like, oh, those are people who I share with after I've done the thing, not before I've done the thing. And so it sounds like this is a before you've done the thing group of people who are going to encourage you and support you and like help carry you through the hard parts. And then, so those are like external dream assassins. And then those voices that I was talking about earlier with like all the negative thoughts and everything, those are internal dream assassins. And so like as a coach, those are the things that I work on helping people navigate.
I love that. I love that. And you have helped me so much already. And I just can't wait to be. So you guys got to, I will have the link for her Patreon and her website and all that stuff in the description of the episode, because it's amazing. And you don't have to be in Kansas, for people that know that I'm in Kansas. She had a girl from New York, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Emma used to come from England to the morning ones because it would be night there. So people from all over the world can come. And it is cool though to just like get to meet people. And some people I didn't know at all before I started that. And like they read an article of mine on Jane Friedman and they're like, oh, I'm going to go check her out. And then they would jump on. And so like I've met people through my writing. Like my writing went out and introduced me first. And then they came on to Patreon and now like they're real friends. And I'm like, oh, how's your daughter doing? I'm like, they know my real life and my cat's names. And, it's so cool how our story, when we write it down or when we tell it through a podcast or we share it through visual art or music, can be our ambassador for us, and our story can go places we will never go, and it can impact people we may never meet. And I think that's one of the coolest things about being a creative and being a writer. And I think that's one of the great things about you sharing your story in so many different ways, Francy. Like you're getting ready to share it through the written word, but you're already sharing it on podcasts and everything. So you can be impacting people who you never even know, but your story is still doing work for people and lifting them up and helping them get courage to make changes that they need to make. So I think sharing your story is one of the bravest things you can do. And I really applaud you for it.
Thank you. It means the world to me, because I want to help out others that feel like they're alone, because I struggle with it for so long. And I just want the pain, to be worth something, that it's not in vain, that I just didn't go through the shit that I went through. Sorry, but
Oh no, I
for
talk
no
like a sailor. You're fine.
So, I want to help out there. And I love the motivation that you give me with the writing, because I feel like I'm taking it serious again. And like even the prompts from the other group that I'm in, I was doing it here and there, but now I'm getting more self-aware of the different type of journaling. Because some of my journaling last year, I went into a bad one, because journaling can be bad too. I was tracking the wrong things. I was writing about the wrong things because I kept stuck in the feeling, but not to try to change the feeling, but just to feed the feeling.
Yeah.
So if I was angry, I was going to write to get that anger going. If I was sad, I was ready to write the most saddest story that I could ever find about whatever was happening at the moment. So this year, I'm back to like, okay, hold up. This is not why I'm using journaling for. And I should not have like the calendar that I use now, the big calendar,
Hmm.
and any of my planners giving me bad energy. So
I,
I'm more like, okay, it's not all about happy thoughts, but
mhm.
it's about changing the perspective and not making sure that if I'm angry, okay, what can I do to feel neutral? Because sometimes I can't get happy, but just neutral. So
Yes.
it's just thank you, because I'm back um, taking journaling to the next level.
I love that. And I do want to say I understand what you mean about journaling and just like wallowing in that emotion and it not being like an emotionally healthy place for you. And I'm glad that you realized that you can transform that into something else now. But I don't want you to think that that was wasted writing, because it was not wasted writing. You were learning how to write those emotions like so in depth and so clearly. And as you write your story this time, you're going to be able to pull out like the strongest parts of that and really connect that emotion to the reader. And that emotional connection is what's going to keep people like turning the page and crying and laughing and like going along with you and having a visceral reaction to the book. So I'm glad that you've seen that it wasn't like a great space for your head to stay in, but it wasn't wasted. Like, you have not wasted anything. It was something that you needed to do and you've done it, and now it's time to level up, and you're leveling up. So that's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I can't wait to like re-listen to this interview until I get the message in my head because I'm very critical of myself. So like even then, boom, that was a judgment. And you're like, oh, hold up now, slow it down. So thank you.
I think self-criticism is something that is natural to everyone. But I think when it comes to creators and writers, we have an opportunity to really refine our self-criticism. Like, we can really get in there because we have a tangible thing that we can overanalyze and like work on whatever and whatever. And it gets paralyzing. And so realizing like the judgment can only get me so far. And that's why I think the practice of building up that muscle of getting out of the judgment talking and just tuning into yourself and asking, is this the best I can do right now? With the skills that I have, with the ability, with the story, with where I'm at in my timeline of humanity, is this the best I can do right now? And if it is, great, go ahead and send it, because it doesn't have to be perfect and it'll still impact somebody. And the creator's curse is that every time we finish a project, we're better at doing that act than we were before. So every time you finish a podcast, you're a better host than you were the last time. So you always want to go back and redo the last episode because you just got better. And like, it's cyclical, right? Every time I write a book, I want to go back and rewrite the whole book because I got better as I wrote the entire book. And that's the creator's curse. But every project teaches us something, and it's perfectly fine to just say, I did as good as I could with what I knew and the skills I had, and it's still going to go out and it's still going to impact people and change lives. So you're in the right spot.
Thank you, thank you. I'm taking it all in. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners?
I have a question for you.
Oh, yes. Do it.
On your Instagram, you posted a picture and it was all these envelopes you had drawn with numbers on them.
Uh,
What are these envelopes? Like, tell me more. I was
okay,
so
so
curious.
I think it was like a couple of years ago that I was into financial stuff and take the Dave Ramsey system and blah, 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 blah. And one of the things I am so mad, I cannot give credit to whoever I saw it on the internet because I was just looking for anything and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the big things that year was the $5 challenge and the 100 envelope challenge. $5 challenge, you just put $5 in a jar. At the end of the year, you count all your $5. 100 envelope challenge. Oh, I wish I had it closed because most people don't get the system till they
Uh-huh.
see it. So you're gonna put 100 envelopes, 1 to 100.
Okay.
You can go in order, or you can go wherever money you have at the moment. And that envelope with that number, the same amount of money is going to go in that envelope.
Okay.
So one is going to have one, 20 is going to have 20, 50
Mhm.
is going to have 50. And when you get to 100, you're supposed to have $5,050. So I'm starting it again. But I
That's
started like
fun.
2, 3 times a year. The most I have gotten is to $737. And I think I saved that in like 3 months. So
So, do you just like wait until you're like, oh, I got some cash today, so I'm going to fill up an envelope? Or like, how do you attack this?
I have a system for everything. And
Tell me
first of all,
more.
I start with my change.
Okay.
I save my change. So because I have a laundry machine, I have to have the quarters
Right.
separate. But then I save my ones, my five, or whatever. I'll put it in a different envelope. It was supposed to be the binder where you have groceries, hobbies, and put
Mhm.
money. I can't do that because I was like, hobbies and we're gonna go to Target today, or groceries and or vacation. So it wasn't working for me. So now I just put the dollar bills, like when I have ones or whatever. Then my friend gave me a piggy bank, a sloth piggy bank.
Yeah.
It's so cute. So I was putting cash there. So now it's like when I know that I have enough cash on those, because the piggy bank is for the big dollars, the binder is for the small dollars. And then when I accumulate a lot, because then I'm using it and I'm not with the pressure of like, oh my gosh, there I go again. I open an envelope,
Mhm.
so I got system before the envelope to try to leave the envelopes alone. Right now I have, I think, like 17 of them full. So it's like, do not touch them. But yeah, so then when I accumulate, I use cash still for a
Mhm.
lot of the things for work or whatever. And because I use the quarters, so I either do it at the end of each payday, or getting ready for the next payday, or at the end of the month when I have accumulated a lot of cash, and just put it in the envelope, because you're gonna need every single bill, especially fives and ones. You're gonna
Yeah.
need them a lot, and then once you get to the bigger numbers, it's the 20s and tens.
So what I love so many things about that, but one thing that I really love about that is you were talking, you were like, and then you're supposed to use it for groceries or hobbies, and that wasn't working for me. And I love that you knew that wasn't working for you, because I feel like so many people in creative stuff too. Like I hear this a lot with writers. Like you have to be a real writer by writing every day. But that doesn't work for everybody. And when we tell ourselves the only way I'm a real writer is if I write every day, then we make ourselves feel like a garbage human if we don't write every day. And maybe that's just not your way. And so the fact that you were like self-aware enough to be like, nope, this is not the way that my brain works, and it's not going to be the right system for me, but you tried it and then you let it go. I think that's a great example for all creatives across creative like methodology
Mhm.
of you see somebody else and they write, in felt tip pen under the full moon and it works for them. Okay, great, try it. And if that works for you, wonderful, stick with it. But if it doesn't work for you, be like, tried it, not for me, move on. It's kind of like dating, but with like habits,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. Because
Yeah.
I have been on a roller coaster. First, it's a decade of with depression.
Hmm.
And then 6 to 7 years ago, yeah, I think Facebook reminded me it was 6 years ago, I had my first panic attack. So then I had to learn everything and anything about anxiety.
Yeah.
So then when I go get those emotions stable, or a little bit better, I was able to learn more. And for me, finances, so that was, yeah, 2019. So like 3 years ago, like starting my 30s. Right now I'm mid 30s, 35. And becoming 30, and I was like, oh, I cannot play like I'm a child anymore. I haven't been a child for a long time now. Now I really have to act like a grown up. So I was like just looking for survival things that will help me. And finances, I'm still struggling with it, but it's because emotionally I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been okay. And I'm an emotional spender. If I'm angry, I shop. If I'm sad, I shop. If I'm happy, I shop. So I just, so now I'm just trying to hold myself accountable of I don't have to spend every penny that I have. So I do look for a lot. And now that I got you reminding me about the writing again, I love it because that's one of the things that stops me. Even though I know many people that have written books and said that
Mm-hmm.
the average takes 2 years, I'm like, oh yeah, I can't. And then there's others that they waited for so long that they will have 5 books
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. But it's because of that, of all the years that they journal, that I have different ideas. So I'm starting with journals first. Hopefully my VA will have it soon designed because I'm horrible at Canva. But later on, working in, now that I'm writing my story, I can
Mm-hmm.
easily be like, oh yeah, there's a book there.
Yeah. And
And I
it's one
have
of those things where it's hard to see the progress because you're just doing it little by little. I just released a blog post yesterday over at the Creatives Apprentice blog, and it's about giving yourself credit when you're working on a big, complex, long project. And so a few of the things I talked about was one, just making yourself a sticker chart. So you kind of did that with your envelope system where you had the big, but I said you need to make a scream in your face, big, look at what I've done, give yourself credit chart. And so like I do mine with stickers because I super love stickers and I've always loved stickers and like I'm really into stickers and it's fine and I own it and it's great and it's amazing.
girl, yes.
But not everybody's into stickers and I know that. So one of my friends, Dawn Downey, she has books, right? And so she had did a limited run edition of 100 books. That was all she was going to print. And then she was going to delete the manuscript when she sold all 100 books. And so she sold, I don't know, she's like over halfway done, but she's like, I just feel like it's so far away. And I'm like, well, you aren't giving yourself credit for all that you've already sold. And she's like, yeah, it's hard to see the opposite of something. I was like, you need a reverse growth chart. And so what we talked about was like, when you're a kid and you have that like measure how tall you are chart and like your mom like marks off the things is like, oh, you're 4 inches taller today or whatever. So what you do is when you have something you're trying to get rid of is you think if you stacked all those 100 books up together, get a piece of paper, butcher block, paper, butcher roll it out for however long that is, and then color in from the top down and you see how far you've come, like how that stack is getting smaller and smaller. So in writing a book, it's the same way. Like you're spending time every day, but when you just hit save on your Word document, like that is so anticlimactic. It is like you've done nothing. But putting your sticker up or giving yourself something really visible where you give yourself credit and you can celebrate, that's a great way to get in a good habit.
I love it. And I was following your stickers. I was like, that was so cute when you was doing that and sharing it on social media. One time it was like a unicorn and I love it.
Oh yeah, I did a unicorn this week too.
Nice. Yeah, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. And I am the queen of gold stars. My partner makes fun of me
No.
because he
Make
says
fun of
like,
them back. If they don't like
oh
gold
no, yeah,
stars, like
it's a
you don't get a
mutual
gold
thing.
star partner. Like,
Oh no,
no.
it's a
Yeah.
mutual thing because his gold star are different. So I'm like, you want your gold stars too. So
Right.
you leave me alone with my stickers because when I go to my planner meetup, we started back and we do it whatever fourth Sunday of the month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the library, no matter what library it is, they're like, yeah, you going this way. Because I have a huge plastic container with 30 books of Happy Planner stickers at least. And
Oh man.
a little container with 3 drawers that is supposed to be for like, necklaces and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But I have it off washi tape and I have 2 of them. So 6 drawers full of washi tape, all
I
kinds
get
of
it.
size. So I go to the library and the library's like, yep, this way, please.
See you
There
later.
we
Go in
go.
there with your washi tape. Yeah.
So I love it. I love stickers and stuff. I have to bring it back. It's just I'm between my room and right now I'm in the living room. I got some pillows behind me.
Nice.
I'm
I'm in
just
my living room
comfortable over
too.
here.
Lovely. Yeah.
So I love this podcast thing.
Well, the other thing you said in there, Francie, is you were like, "Oh, I love it when I put my calendar stuff or when I put my stickers on Instagram." So what Francie's talking about is after my mom died, I had a really hard time getting back into writing, and so I told social media, I was like, I'm going to write every single day and give myself a sticker, and I'm going to post a picture because I knew there would be people holding me accountable, right? And so I started with just writing 5 minutes a day, and then every day I would add a minute. So I'd write 5 minutes on Monday, 6 minutes on Tuesday, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I only wrote Monday through Friday. Well, what I did not expect from that, like I was just doing that because I needed basically to like publicly shame myself into not giving up because I was just so, emotionally just like train wrecked at that point. But what I didn't realize, and what so many people have told me, is I love seeing your stickers every day. And what I understand now is that when we show people our daily progress, like how that sticker chart is, when I posted that on social media, it was giving other people permission to go out and achieve their dreams. And it was showing that my success is not an overnight success. It's a day by day by day thing. So if it takes them day by day too, it normalizes it. And it takes this like idea of being like a overnight success or just like being found on American, like just this like dream story. It says, no, it's made up of 1,000 little days strung together until you get to where you are. And so I think it would be super cool if everybody showed their like scream in the face accomplishment thing. And I was on another coaching call and last Friday, and she said the same thing. I loved seeing your stickers. And I was like, I guess I could start posting it again. But I thought, like, for me, I was like, man, people are going to be so sick. Like, I'm just putting stickers, like the same calendar shot every day. How boring is that?
It wasn't for us. Like I'm telling you from my side, it was like, oh, that's cool. You get a sticker if you write. Oh my God, that's genius.
Well, when this podcast goes live, I will start at least a month of showing my stickers every day when this podcast goes live. So I will commit to that.
Yeah, because it's like that. You're giving others permission. You're just doing it. You think it's silly, but it's actually motivating
Mm-hmm.
because then it gives you permission of like, oh, even if I didn't give myself a sticker today, I still have tomorrow, which is stuff that we already know.
Yeah.
But to see somebody else struggling with it or somebody else doing it, it's like, oh, now it's possible for me as well. Because then I'm like, it might not be writing, it might be a podcast episode. Give you a
Mm-hmm.
sticker for a podcast
Yeah.
episode,
Yeah.
especially if you bash record. I think I give myself 3 stickers today because I have 3 events today. So it's just awesome. So thank you for sharing with us and telling my story because I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I just thought, oh, that's a cute idea to give you, motivation to keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, the other thing that it does, which I didn't realize when I started doing that, is so I think I posted and I did like really good for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I just had a day where I think grief just hit me so hard. And it was one of those days where I was just like, couldn't get out of bed and like, just mental health struggle just to the max. And I didn't get my sticker that day. But then the next day when I posted and there was the gap on the calendar, I said, the reason I didn't write yesterday is emotionally, I was crying over my mom who just died. But what that did also was it gave permission to people to be human and to take a day off and to take care of themselves emotionally and to say, you know what, you don't have to do it every single day. Like there are things that are more important, like your health and your mental health is included in that. And so even when we feel like we're failing sometimes, we're still teaching other people that it's okay to be compassionate to ourselves and that you're human. And that the other thing is I learned how many people were supporting me. It felt isolating writing every day in my house alone. But then when I posted on there, so many people were like, oh, actually, this is funny. So 2 days a week, my friends own a brewery, and I don't drink beer, but I pour beer twice a week because I would never leave my house and talk to people otherwise. And so there's this regular who comes in, and he follows me on somewhere. I don't know, Instagram or Facebook. I don't know where he is. And he comes up, he's like, I'm watching you, Jess. And I was like, well, that's creepy. What are you talking about? And he's like, your stickers, I'm watching you. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, and I told my class about you. And he's an English teacher for kids, like in high school. And he's like, and I told him about you and how you started with just 5 minutes. And so my class, we sat down and we wrote for just 5 minutes. And I'm telling him every day if you get your sticker or not. And I was like, whoa, like I thought this was just about me getting back on, but it's not. Like it ended up at like a high school room full of kids. And this guy who I pour beer for once a week is like, good job, keep it up. And I was just like, I didn't know so many people were rooting for me. And when you do it publicly like that, you build your accountability system and you build your support system. And that's what keeps us moving in the days that we want to give up.
Wow, yeah, and I'm glad that you touched on that because I was so excited about the writing and everything that I forgot to mention the grieving part, and mental health, and that sometimes we do need a day for ourselves, and it's not like one thing that it can be gone, so it's a journey, and to have that, to feel the support around you in that tough season, and having others that could relate so you don't feel alone going through it and everything. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. And I want to see your sticker thing immediately. So as soon as you start sharing that, message me so I can see it, please.
I gotta find a space because the new planner has plenty of space. I bought a wall planner before. I don't know why. A calendar, a wall calendar. I
Yeah.
thought that it was like exaggerating and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is genius.
I was brainstorming with one coaching client, and I was trying to get her to think outside the box. And so she had a wall behind her. I was like, what if you just gridded out your entire wall with paint, and then every day that you did something, you like dipped your hand in paint and shoved a handprint on the wall, and like her eyes got like this big. But I mean, make it that big, like make your whole house scream, look at what I'm doing. I think it's fantastic.
I need you in my life. I love it. I love the conversation, and I can talk to you forever and a day.
Me too.
Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And if anybody else wants a free coaching session, if they just go to jessicaconnolly.com to my coaching page, it's jessicaconnoley.com. Go over to the coaching page and you can have a session like Francy did before we did our podcast. And I love getting to know people. So please come do that.
And check your Patreon too, because it starts at $5. So you got it. Gotta check it out too, because it's an amazing community that she's creating there, and she shares so much value. So thank you so much for what you're doing too.
Thank you, Francy.
Alrighty, for those on YouTube, I have forgot to give shout out. Remember to like and subscribe, please help my channel out there. And the podcast, just thank you so much for listening to another episode. I hope that you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And if anybody else in Kansas want to come on my podcast, hey, let's talk about it. And check out Jessica's stuff because she's amazing. I will have all her links in the description of the episode. Hope you have a blessed day.